So we've got brand new information from newly released Pentagon documents about UFOs. Apparently many people who've seen UFOs report having been burned or having brain difficulties afterward. Kind of an amazing report. That's straight ahead. People who ask questions about UFOs are written off as deranged conspiracy mongers. Oh, shut up about UFOs. Then we learned about something called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. It was an operation at the Pentagon, cloaked from public scrutiny, that studied UFO sightings for a very long time, and it was completely real, because those sightings are real. The Defense Intelligence Agency has just released that program's 2010 report on UFOs, and among other things, the document tells us that the government can prove that UFO sightings have caused radiation burns, paralysis, and brain damage. The report also says that some people who saw UFOs experienced, quote, perceived time suspension. They also saw ghosts and other spirits. In all, that report lists 42 cases of adverse effects from medical files and another 300 adverse effects from unpublished cases, whatever that means. Lou Elizondo knows what it means because he used to run the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. We're happy to have him on tonight. Lou, thanks so much for coming on. So, I mean, this was a feature of people's firsthand accounts going back 50 years to the 60s. You know, I saw this thing and I had these physical effects. I guess that turns out to be real. Tell us about these effects.
Yeah, Tucker, actually, it's even more than that. This is not, you know, the notion of where, let's say, grandma saw some lights in the backyard. These are military eyewitnesses. In some cases, they're fighter pilots or they're security personnel that have come up close and personal with a UAP, or I guess in the vernacular, UFO. And in some cases, they have sustained significant, some sort of medical trauma, something that can be looked at and quantified and qualified and measured as some sort of biological effect, that they didn't suffer these consequences until they came up close and personal to a UFO. And by the way, let me just say, this isn't pseudoscience. You know, for you, you're absolutely right in your intro. For many years, we've been told, oh, you know, this is silly and whatnot, and this topic is really not to be taken seriously. Look, I was part of the program. I ran the program for a better part of 8 years on this topic. It is absolutely real. And now, finally, because of the pressure put by Congress and people like you in the media, finally our government is beginning to become more transparent about this topic and tell the truth about this topic in a way that I wasn't at liberty to have the conversation 4 years ago when you and I first started talking with each other.
Yeah, so I'm getting the idea that when they don't want to hear what you have to say, they call you a conspiracy monger. So these physical effects, some of which are serious, does the Pentagon believe these were intentionally inflicted on people, or they were just byproducts of the experience?
You know, Tucker, that's a fantastic question. Look, the bottom line is, if I've never seen a microwave oven before, and let's say I didn't know how to use it, and I happened to put my hand or unfortunately, let's say my head too close to a microwave oven when it's being turned on, chances are there's going to be some sort of negative biological consequence. Same holds true if I go to let's say an average airport. I just took a 737 today, and if I'm in the cockpit or I'm in the aircraft, there's no real threat. But if I stand behind the engine when the engine is, you know, firing up, chances are I'm going to get burned, I'm going to lose my hearing. There are medical consequences. The question is it deliberate? Is it a product of the technology? Yes. Or is it a product of something else? And we think right now, and again, let me just preface, preliminarily speaking, it's probably just a consequence of the advanced technology.
Final question, I've asked you this before, but in the face of the mounting evidence, it doesn't really seem plausible to suggest these are aircraft from foreign militaries at this point, does it?
Look, we've been looking at this for a long time, and if anyone seems to suggest that China or Russia back in 1950s had the ability to travel at hypersonic speeds and do 90-degree turns in midair after doing 8,000 miles an hour, then, you know, you're looking at the greatest intelligence failure this country has ever had, eclipsing that of 9/11, by the way, by an order of magnitude. So no, I think it's fair to say at this point, suffice it to say, this is probably not some sort of adversarial technology we're dealing with.